And now, the 2015 NCMPR Medallion Award-winning Studio Bergen.
Welcome to the Season 7 premiere of this award-winning program from Bergen Community College. Hi everyone, I'm Larry Levanka, and again, welcome to Studio Bergen. Today, we have a very special guest. We have the interim president. His name is Dr. Michael D. Redmond. He was named president in June of our summer here at Bergen, and today we have him as a guest on our program. Welcome, Dr. Redmond.
Thank you, Larry. Glad to be here.
Thank you for being here. So, you know, it's kind of been an interesting few months for you. In many ways, it was a U-turn back to Bergen Community College over the summer, but by all accounts, it has been a very positive summer, a very productive summer. But take us through, again, that U-turn back to Bergen.
Well, I mean, it happened so quickly for me. Actually, I was getting ready to go to Delaware to spend most of the summer down there, and I got a call from the Board of Trustees asking if I would be willing to step in for interim president, and I said, sure, I'd be happy to discuss it. And then just very quickly, it happened, and my life changed, and it's been a whirlwind of activity since then, to be sure.
But, you know, this isn't the first time that you've kind of had a shift for the good of the institution.
I hope for the good of the institution. This is, I think, my third stint as an administrator. I was hired in 1981 as an adjunct faculty member. And then I think 1985, I got a job as a temporary full-time faculty member for a semester. And then a year later, I was appointed as an assistant professor in philosophy and religion. And then not long after that, I became dean. And I've been back and forth between being an administrator and a faculty member over the past 20-some years or so, depending on, I don't know, institutional need, sometimes depending on my interest as well. But I've served, I think, twice as dean. I was the college's first chief information officer, and then I had a variety of senior staff positions, and I ended up as executive vice president. And then I think around 2008, I decided to go back being a college professor. So since then, I've been preparing lectures and all that until the summer.
You know, it's really, you just kind of outlined it, but it's been a hallmark of your career, bouncing back between faculty and administration. Do you think those experiences prepared you for this latest bounce back into administration?
Well, I don't know that anything would have really completely prepared me for what I'm doing now. It's such a big job. But yes, I think going back and forth between faculty and administration, and indeed having different administrative roles, has been invaluable to me. Because, I counted the other day, I think I have had 13 different offices since I started here at Bergen in 1981. And somewhere along the way, I stopped bringing in personal items to decorate my office. I just keep my personal items in a milk crate, and I sort of take them with me. But what happens when you're in different positions? I mean, when I was a part-time faculty member, well, you know, you're a part-time faculty member, and you don't have security. You come and go, and you see the institution from a certain angle. But as I've gone through all these different positions, it's not really that I know more. It's that I've seen the institution from so many different vantage points. And when you have a large institution, there's competing interests, differences of opinion. And I think having someone who's seen all these different sides, it actually adds value to what I can do, what I can bring to the institution. So yeah, sure.
Do you think there's also an advantage, again, 36 years at the institution?
That long?
It is, 1981. So knowing the personnel, in fact, you've hired a number of personnel, including myself. Do you think there's an advantage there? Do you think that helps you in this latest role?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, I know, as I think about being an administrator here over the years, that the thing I'm probably most proud of is that most of the time I think I got it right in hires. And it's been great to see people hire at one level and then years later to see them grow and develop as professionals. I think the other thing that does for me now is I need to reach out as president and ask people to step up and do various things. And I don't go to say to someone, hey, I hired you 20 years ago, but there's that kind of connection and perhaps even a loyalty as a result of that. So yeah, I think it does help, for sure.
On the faculty side of the brain, if you will, you're obviously a philosophy professor, a philosophy and religion faculty member. Do you bring anything from those disciplines into management, leadership, any type of philosophies or styles that prove beneficial?
Wow, what a great question. And I think the answer is absolutely yeah. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, when I just started out as a dean, I went to a workshop or a conference at Montclair State University. And the workshop was a number of their administrators, and they were asked to speak from from the perspective of their own fields. And the question they were asked is, how does your field inform what you do as an administrator? And the point that they made, and I've never forgotten it, and I believe it deeply today, is that you should reach back into your discipline. You should reach back into those skills that you learned, attitudes and values that develop because of the particular academic discipline you're in, and don't turn away from that, but draw upon that as a kind of well. And I know for me, that's true. I'm professionally trained as a philosopher, and professionally, more than anything else, that's how I think about myself. And philosophy, it's not just things that you learn, knowledge, skills that way. It's an attitude that you take toward life, a life of inquiry and critical analysis. So it's who I am professionally, but it's also how I engage life. So I think that means, I hope it means, that I'm really good at conceptual analysis. I hope it means that I'm good at critical thinking. I hope it means that I can see not only the larger picture, but also the smaller parts. I know I deeply believe that some ideas are better than others, but not because of power, not because of who holds them, but because they rest upon better reasons. And I think that because of being a philosopher, I think that my ideas aren't better than others simply because they happen to be mine, right? And so that means that I have to be quick to listen, to hear other vantage points, to respect those vantage points, and then I have to be willing to be flexible enough, maybe it's even humility, and I won't say I have a lot of that, but humble enough to change course if there are good reasons for doing so. So yeah, my philosophy, my training very much informs my management style.
I know I've heard you say it before, that learning, the classroom, that is the core of any academic institution. Does that worldview at all soften the blow of you not being able to teach this semester and beyond?
See, I've enjoyed being in the classroom for sure, but I've also enjoyed being an administrator. So it's been two worlds, each of which I think I've been fairly comfortable in and had some success. You mentioned about changing focus. When I'm in the classroom, my focus is on my students, preparing lectures, designing curricula, trying to help them succeed. And I think, in sort of a deep way, it's still the same focus, except it's not my 200 or 300 students. Now it's the 14,000 credit students. There's the 10,000 non-credit students. And I still look at my job as interim president now of trying to make sure that they have the best, most positive learning experience and that our faculty are free from distractions and focusing upon the classroom. So change of focus, sure, but it's still academics.
Let's stay on that of essentially being the shepherd for this institution and thousands of people that work here and take classes here. What has the response been so far?
Well, I tell you, I have been gratified, but I actually need a stronger word. I think I've been overwhelmed at the positive support. When I came in the first day after being appointed, my inbox was flooded with emails of words of encouragement. And I continue to get a lot of those emails. The leaders of our faculty here, the leaders of the collective bargaining units, they've all come in to say that they want to work together to advance the mission of the college. I think you read the newspapers and you're told something that's true, that people no longer just go to one job and they stay, they change from job to job, company to company. That's true, I get that. But at Bergen, there's a significant number of people here who've been here a long time. Now, sometimes there's downsides there. Sometimes that means that we can be a little resistant to change. Sometimes that means that we forget to look outside the institution and learn from that. But still, what it really means here at Bergen, I think, is that most people see this not just as a job to get a paycheck. They've got a mortgage, they've got bills to pay and all that, but it's a vocation. And I think a lot of the people here at Bergen, they see this as their institution, that they own it in a positive way. And I think to some extent, people were happy to see someone appointed who also had deep roots in the institution, who wasn't going somewhere else, right? Whose commitment was to the institution and trying to move it forward. So I think in those ways it's been reassuring to a lot of people. So I think some of the sentiment that's been expressed to me positively is more just an expression of that comfort level.
Is that helping you roll out initiatives? We've already seen some. The website has changed a little bit, and I believe it'll change some more as we go forward. But is that helping you at all to roll out some of these projects and things that you want to see done?
Well, it does. I mean, in a way, it's capital, right? And you have to draw down on capital. And so from time to time, you're going to have to make some decisions that aren't going to be popular.
Of course.
And what you're hoping for is not necessarily that people agree, right? But that they trust you, that they believe that you have the best interest of the institution at heart, that they realize that you're accessible to them, that you're willing to listen to argument. And I think if you get that kind of trust built, that sense of a shared community, that you work through your problems and you can then move ahead as an institution. So building that morale, if you will, trying to create that kind of community feeling here has been for me an important priority this summer.
So let's build on that. Priorities, other priorities. What initiatives? What programs? What kinds of things are we going to see? What is the college going to be taking on in the next month or next year?
Well, let's divide that in two parts. And let me start with the part that's most important, that's unexciting, it's not sexy. I think it is really easy for administrators to fall into the trap of thinking that they've got to have some great big project and initiative that their names can be associated with and then remembered. And there are important projects in that. But I think it's a trap, because I think what you've got to really remember, we're a college. This is about academics. This is about teaching. This is about learning. And so the focus of the institution, and my focus, my highest priority has got to be to make sure that that teaching, learning environment flourishes, that students have maximal opportunity to benefit from that. And part of what that means is I have to make sure the institution works smoothly, that it works without friction, so that students can easily get admitted and register and get financial aid and so forth and get to their classes, that faculty run into as few impediments as possible. So I think that's my overall duty. Now, does that mean that there aren't projects and initiatives? Well, no, there's going to be all kinds of projects and initiatives. One really big thing that we're doing now that I think is incredibly important is we are conducting an institutional-wide assessment of technology and how we deploy those assets. That's a major initiative because technology is always a very expensive proposition, and it will continue to be, but we have to make sure that we get the right kind of return on investment there, that we're getting the benefit that we need. I'm pretty confident we're doing lots of good things there, but we're stepping back and trying to get a handle on that from a more global standpoint. Now, I think once that's done, that's going to start driving some other things that will have real value for the institution. Now, you mentioned the website. We badly need a redesign and overhaul of our website. We have a good website that was built years ago, but it's sort of creaky now, and that needs to be overhauled. Another part of that is, well, a lot of times when I go to shop, I don't jump in my car, you know. I shop online, and somehow it just like magic appears on my doorsteps. I think students increasingly want the front-end experience with the college, paying their bills, registering, admitting, and all that. They want that to be easy just like that, you know, the way it is in the online world. And I think you're going to see here a major emphasis of making our virtual campus just as user-friendly as I hope the traditional campus is here. We have, like any large institution, we have lots of processes and procedures that have developed over the years, and they get changed incrementally as we face new challenges. I think some of these we need to step back as an institution and say, hey, look, if we were doing this again from scratch, how would we do it? And we would probably do it very differently. And then one other major thing, there's so many of them. Maybe I can mention two if you'll let me.
Absolutely.
We need to relaunch our foundation. We have a good foundation that's been successful over the years that produces quite a few dollars that we give to students for scholarships. I'd like to see us double and triple that. And that's not just wishful thinking. We have to have a strategy for that. And a number of people on campus are working really hard now to put in place strategies to relaunch that foundation in a really big way. And then the last thing that I'll mention for now is we have thousands of students here. We have hundreds of courses. But if you look at the total enrollment, you'll find that about 50% of the enrollment of the college is in 35 classes. These are gateway classes.
Right.
So what I'm hoping we can do is really target these gateway classes, because improvements that we make there in quality, improvements that we can make, or additional resources that we can bring there, really have a tremendous benefit, because we'll be reaching large numbers of students. So that's a big priority to me this year.
You've touched on it previously. I mean, all of that sounds so ambitious. You know, you're talking about change in a lot of those cases. That sometimes people can be resistant to change. How do you tackle that? How do you tackle these initiatives? How do you broach that without scaring people off and saying, I like the way we used to do it before?
Well, let's see. Resistance to change is not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's putting brakes on things that force us to think more carefully, right? It's not just about having a great idea and it be a great idea. You've got to make sure you implement it, you execute it properly. And sometimes folk out there who are resistant to change, they're actually helping us or forcing us to think through things more carefully. So a certain kind of resistance to change, I get that. I don't mind that. But look, this is Bergen. We have a wonderful campus. We have extraordinary resources here at the institution. We ought to be ambitious. We ought to be doing lots of things, because, you know, we can do it. And the result of that is going to be improved lives for our students.
We didn't touch on it yet, but this is a milestone year for the institution as well. Something that everyone can really rally behind. It is the college's 50th anniversary. I mean, to be the interim president, obviously, that must give you, there must be some emotion associated with that. But what is being planned? How are we going to celebrate this momentous occasion for our institution?
Well, it just won't be one celebration. That's the first thing. It's going to be a year-long celebration. I think we graduated our first class 68, now 50 years later. This spring we'll be graduating the 50th class. And literally, over that period of time, there are thousands of students who've earned degrees, certificates, and because of that, They've got better jobs. They make more money. They have improved lives. The county is better. And maybe most importantly, they're better equipped to take their place as good citizens, right? And Bergen helped bring that about. So the way I look at it, when I think of this celebration, there's a story that we need to tell. And it's going to be an arcing story from 1968 all the way through to this coming commencement of the contributions of this college. Now, we are actually filming this, taping this in our health professions building. It is an incredible facility in terms of the things that we offer here. I find that whenever we have people coming in from outside who visit us, they may have various ideas about who and what Bergen is, but when they step on this campus and they begin to see this jewel that's partly theirs because it's a community college, they're always amazed, they're always just shocked and awed by what Bergen is. That's a story that we're proud of. And that's a story that we want to tell at the top of our lungs this year. And I hope that people listening to this, who want to know more about Bergen, that they reach out to us. I mean, you can reach my office at, I think it's 201-447-7237. Let us know, and we'll show you what Bergen is like, what Bergen can do, and the value that Bergen is. I'll tell you something else. Years ago, I was a young faculty member, and I had a fellowship at Boston University. So what does an academic do? I went to the bookstore, right, to see if there's any books I could afford. And I'm going through the books. And you know what I found? Now, Boston University, that's a pretty good school, I think, right? Three books there written by Bergen's faculty. Now that was an incredible, and that impressed me so much as a young man. So, it's not just our facilities here, it's our faculty, it's the quality of their teaching, it's their research. Would you believe a community college, we have one of the largest programs in philosophy and religion. Now, it's my own discipline, but we have one of the largest programs in the United States for any two-year school, and that's here at Bergen Community College. So this is an incredible place that has made such a difference in the lives of students, and it's a story that we're going to tell over and over and over again this year. And I tell you, I'm glad to see that from Jim Tedesco, our county exec, Tracy Soar, the chair of the freeholders, they're part of our steering committee because I think they understand the value of the college to the county. So I'm really excited about it.
Well, we've talked about initiatives and we've talked about time. I think a question on everyone's mind, at least in our internal Bergen community here, and probably outside as well. Is the search underway for a new president? Is that a job that you're interested in?
Well, that's two questions there. Let's see. The conduct of the search is a responsibility of the Board of Trustees. It's really important to understand that selecting a president isn't a matter of creating a job ad, putting it in the paper, getting some resumes, and boom, making a decision. You do it that way, things go wrong. I think it takes a year of careful and considered action and planning to recruit the kind of president that the institution needs and wants. And some of the early stages, things that really have to be done to do this well, are underway. I'll give you an example of what I mean. You want to find a president that brings strength and skills to the needs of the institution at a particular moment in time. And that means that the institution has to have a really good understanding of its challenges, of its vision, where it hopes to go in order to recruit the right person. Now, we are right now deep into updating our strategic plan to try to get clear on basic priorities for the next 5 years. Our board had a summer retreat only a few weeks ago in which it spent time thinking about the broad-based challenges and opportunities for community colleges in the 21st century. All this will help us build, if you will, a profile of the kind of president that we need. And it's not glamorous doing this kind of work, but this is the kind of work that has to be done first. Now, we have reached out even to our bargaining units to say, what kind of person do you want as your president? he or she? What do you think the skills that are needed? And so I think we're beginning to get some sense here, or a clearer sense as an institution, where we want to be, and that's going to help us, I think, make the kinds of decisions that we need to make about president.
So the second question, is that something you might be interested in?
There was a second question?
Look, it's on everyone's mind.
Okay,
I think
sure.
everyone in this room, I think everyone watching. Look, you've talked about it during this interview. The respect that the college community has shown for you, the appreciation, I think people do want to know.
I hope I've said several times during this interview that I think this is a wonderful institution, and it is. And I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm loyal to this college, I'm committed to this college, but not just to the college we have, but to what we can be. I think there's still tremendous amounts of unlocked potential here at the institution. I think we're a very good college. I think we have some really, really great programs. But we're not still, I think, to where we can be and should be as an institution. I think given the support from the taxpayers in Bergen County, taxpayers across the state, student tuition, resources, location, all of that Bergen ought to stand as a leading light in this country when it comes to community colleges. And I'm dedicated to doing all that I can do right now to help us begin to move forward to that. But I'll tell you something, I'm finding that that means the days start early and the days end late, and that's okay. And there's not a lot of time to think about certain specific things. I'm just trying to do the best job I can right now.
I think that's fair, and I think we'll all certainly give you that,
Well, thank you.
that leeway. As we start to wrap this up, you know, the core of the institution, our students, the classroom, what's the message? What's the advice? What's the takeaway for them as they begin this semester? For some, perhaps it's the first semester of college. For others, they're coming back to Bergen after a few years. For others, we may have, like our valedictorian last year, 71-year-old.
Wow. Yes, right.
What's the message to all of them?
Well, you know, you don't have to invent a new message to answer that question. I think the message is the same message that my professors gave me years ago, and I'm sure your professors gave you. Make the most of it. Do your homework. Come to class. Put your phone away. Move to the front of the room. I mean, don't just come here to get a degree. That's wonderful. We're glad for that. Make sure you get an education while you're getting that degree, and that requires the extra effort and commitment, you know, from the students. So that's what I would say to the students. Don't mess it up. Great opportunity. Make the most of it this year, and we'll be there to help you do that.
Well, Dr. Redmond, thank you for taking the time to talk on our season opening program here. We look forward to the year ahead and all of the initiatives planned under your interim presidency. Thank you once again for being here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I'm Larry Levanka, wrapping up this episode of Studio Bergen. We will be back next month in our traditional countdown format, where we will address the top 10 moments from the previous month at Bergen Community College. Thank you for joining us. I'm Larry Levanka. Thanks and take care.